Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Supergirl Season 2, Episode 3. It's called Welcome to Earth. Full spoilers for the episode will follow. So, this was the first one with Linda Carter as the president.
Yep.
We also, obviously, Mon-El woke up at the end of the last episode, and we also got our first tease of Miss Martian. So, it was very eventful.
Yeah, because we were even saying last week we were expecting Miss Martian, a little bit later down the line.
Yeah. In fact, Maggie Sawyer was introduced in this episode. This episode was just
Did a lot,
introducing
yeah.
lots of things.
It's just here, have the whole DCU at once. Why not?
Apparently so. So, yeah, one thing at a time. Mon-El. Let's talk about Mon-El, since he was the thing that we ended with last week. Let's talk about his plotline here. I think he's a villain.
Okay, and why is that?
Why is he called Mon-El?
Are you like just asking in context of the show or in general?
Context of the show.
Probably because somewhere down the line the L family went over to Daxon.
Because in the comics, that's not his real name.
No, it's not.
He has that name because he had amnesia, and he was named Mon-El because they thought he was from Krypton.
Yes.
It's also worth mentioning that the villains in the upcoming crossover allied themselves with the planet Daxam in that event in the comics.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think he's a villain.
I don't know because your logic here is the name, but surely Kara would question it.
See, that's the thing. I actually think it's a problem that she doesn't question it.
No, maybe it's a more common name over in that part of the galaxy than we realise.
And also, why is he speaking English?
All right, that's a fair question. That one,
Especially since they've already established that Kara speaks Kryptonian. In fact, even in this episode, she speaks Kryptonian at one point. And, you know that she learned English when she was here on Earth because she grew up here from the age of 13 or whatever.
yeah. And there was another reference to language with Maggie Sawyer in the bar. The alien that learnt English from her.
Ah, true, yeah. So yeah, why is he speaking English?
All right, that one I'll allow as a fair question. That's a valid point. The other one, I don't know. I feel like with them being sister planets, maybe there was just sharing of families.
Well, you say that. Well, I don't know. It depends how long that war was going on for that Kara was speaking about.
Yeah, exactly. And because a family name can last hundreds of years quite easily if there's a male line to continue it.
And I've got a funny feeling that this distress signal that he sent to Daxam will lead to the crossover.
Probably more of a come here and attack beacon than
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's fair.
Or even if you didn't even mean it, is that even if he's not evil, then it'll be intercepted by the Dominators, and we'll go
That's
from
quite
there.
possible, yeah.
But no, I think he's probably going to secretly stab everyone in the back.
I mean, I'm not ruling out. It's certainly possible. I haven't seen enough evidence to lay claim to that either yet.
I don't necessarily want him to because he seems okay, but that's where my mind's at right now. I could be wrong.
I think the biggest piece of evidence that damns him for me, if I was going to take this route that he is going to be a villain, would be the idea that Kara, she goes, sorry, I shouldn't have judged you. Come on, and then maybe she should have after all. Would be like she should be a bit more cynical. Is kind of the lesson to take.
It's almost like you've watched The Flash. Now, yeah, so the main story of this one, actually, there's a lot of a racial sort of messaging subplot going on here with this one. I'll say subplot, it's not a subplot, but you know what I mean. The president's in town because she's passing this bill that will allow aliens who are, at least in the US, maybe not the planet worldwide, but at least in the US, they can officially become citizens. The idea that aliens no longer have to hide, they can register and be treated as civilians the same as everyone else. And some people are for this, some people are against this, including Jean is against it, which is kind of amusing because he is himself an alien, but he has a very cynical view of them all being dangerous.
Makes sense from everything we've seen of him. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to.
And Kara, of course, is very. No, this is a good idea. It means people can, or it means the aliens can,
Yeah.
start not hiding and all that kind of thing. But of course, the conflict is kind of flipped on its head when Kara is totally racist about Mon-El.
Yep.
And she judges him and assumes that he's the villain, assumes that he's the one who attacked the president, and it wasn't. It was this little random alien lady who has fire powers, and and actually we should mention that Daxum, the planet of Daxum where he's from, was in the same solar system as Krypton, hence why he has all the same powers as
Yeah, it's the same sun.
yeah, same sun. I don't know if there's slight variances. There might be, there might not be. I can't remember. From the comics, I mean, obviously we've not found out if there's any differences in the show.
Yeah, I think there was a few differences in the comics.
Yeah, I think there was too. Because I don't remember if
For some reason, I'm feeling like they had a shape-shifting thing.
were the planets as close in the comics? Because the way they talk about it here, it's almost like one's Earth and one's Mars.
Yeah, I don't recall them being that close, but then,
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but it's I don't know. But yeah, so she judges him, and of course she learns a lesson when it turns out not to be him, and she perhaps also realizes the irony of everything else that's going on in this episode and how it's about prejudice and all the rest of it, and she shouldn't be judging people. I thought that was fine. Maybe a touch on the nose, but it was a nice message.
yeah.
And the fact that the episode as a whole had a nice message, just in terms of that kind of thing. And I really liked Hank's line. I say Hank, Martian Manhunter.
And some of them still call him Hanks. It's fine.
Jean has a good line where when he's like sort of giving his reasons for being so cynical and about how people aren't very accepting. And he says, "I say that as an alien and as a person who's wore a black man's face for the last 15 years." I like that line. I like that he brought that up because as a shapeshifter, he can't just look like anyone.
Yeah.
So I think there's like an interesting like if he's blending in, there's an interesting sort of question to ask about who he's picked. I mean, even though there's a plot reason for why he's Hank Henshaw, because he wanted to be the leader of the DAO and keep an eye
Yeah,
on
but
things.
he could change now.
He could change now. He could look at anyone if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So
It's. I almost wonder if he almost wants to be viewed as like a, because the fact is that he brings up the black people are viewed as a, like not lesser, but he has issues with that, right? And I always wonder if that's him like projecting the fact that he isn't human, into that, so he's not 100% accepted because he doesn't want to be.
I wouldn't go that far. I would have said that it was more just he relates to them because
Yeah.
for the same reason that Maggie Sawyer says she relates to the aliens because she was a non-white gay woman,
Yeah.
growing up, and that was like she knew what it was like to feel like an outsider, to feel like there was the not normal part of society, if you will. But also that was the other thing, obviously, as well, is Maggie like quickly mentioned that she is gay and clearly flirting with Alex. Alex clearly being interested, and we said
Yeah.
Alex was probably going to be the one that ended up being gay.
Yeah, it was very clear of this. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is where it's go. This is the one.
Yeah, there was clear chemistry, which is nice actually. It's nice that
Yeah. I'm alright with that because even more so than some of the others, she's never shown any interest in men. Like you could change anyone, you go, all right, fine, we'll just go with it. But outside of her fake date with Max Lord, like there's been nothing.
No, there's not.
So it really does. It's kind of a blank slate in terms of okay, let's just do whatever.
Yeah, that's it. I can see them. Like, I don't know if they're going to establish that she's always been gay and we've just not known about it, or if she has been dating guys like before she,
Could have been.
joined the military or whatever.
She I don't think she's ever really spoke about it at all, though. Like
She mentioned dating last week.
Yeah, but she didn't really say anything about it specifically.
Well, no, but she mentioned that she's not been able to go on dates, so it's obviously, it's not like a non-thing for her. She has done it in the past. We just don't know who or how or when or.
But it's clearly been a long time just because of that line. So
Yeah. But I had good chemistry. I thought Maggie was mostly pretty fun, actually. I think she gelled well into the show, and she introduces us to this new bar where aliens go to hang out. And I have to say, like, obviously, I think the first thing this reminded me of was the karaoke lounge in Angel.
I knew you were gonna do that, and I always want to give you steak for going to Whedon, but I can't because I was like, it's this. It is the same thing almost.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Which is fine. You can have that. I will say this though. See, when like, because they bring up, the president's coming to put in this registration act, this legalization of aliens on Earth,
Mm.
and immediately I went, wait, how many aliens are on Earth? Like I don't think I got the sense that there was that many that it would be even worth doing this. And then we have this bar full of like just random different aliens. I'm like, huh, okay.
I kind of think that makes sense because obviously we've seen everything from a DEO perspective where they're only focused on threats. They don't look for anything. They don't really even notice these other ones.
Do you know? Yeah, I'm not even complaining. I'm not even criticizing the show for it. It's just it was certainly crossing my mind though. I was like, wait, you've not really established that there's this many aliens. Like, because obviously there was a lot of villains last season, but most of them came from Fort Ross. Like, there was this ship crash with these prisoners. They were the villains for pretty much most of the season, give or take. We had a few other ones. I had Livewire who get made. It wasn't an alien, of course, and Silver Banshee was not an alien. She was like a possessed or whatever woman. So. I don't know. It was like all of a sudden it's like the scenes from Angel where they're in the bar with the demons and they're just all hanging around drinking and
Yeah.
there's all these different kinds. I am totally okay though with this show being the one that has tons of aliens in it. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, it'd be great. I really hope that we spend more time in the bar and establish it as another main location.
I think we will. I can see this becoming a main thing, especially with the ending scene.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So. No, so I like Maggie. Obviously, I mean the actual plot of them like finding this fire lady was fine. It was okay. It was kind of
Pretty just standard villain of the week stuff.
it was. I did like Kara freezing her with her freeze breath though. I liked the effect of it or melting quickly. The start of that looked good. When it actually ended and she broke out, it looked terrible.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was just about to say the same thing.
The shot from the back when it started melting, I was like, oh, that's quite good. Cuts to the front, melts and just smashes out. I'm like, that looked garbage.
Also, this episode confirmed to me something about the people working on this show cannot CG fire, because we got it in the Flash crossover, and we noted then that fire looked awful, and the same thing happened here when you have the close-ups of it. It just looks bad. Like it's okay when it's the big streams of it and it's just kind of big flash across the screen. It's fine then. It's when you have it lingering in a specific spot that it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, although the fire on Kara is kind of a weird thing to judge because nothing really, like, fire doesn't sit in something like that the same way that does.
No, but even when it was, there was the ring of it on the floor.
Oh,
after,
sure,
like,
but
even then it looked bad.
I didn't really notice, if I'm honest.
Fair enough.
I noticed the fire on Kara, but I kind of accept that because fire doesn't, because that's like an unnatural thing. Fire just doesn't sit in something like that.
Yeah.
And of course, it was an excuse to have her do the Wonder Woman spin.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, I was fine with that. I did think the jet line was a bit much, though.
I don't know. Give me a big grin.
Especially since it was almost a line from Batman Begins, but they messed it up. I wish they'd have just worded it the same way, because that would have been like a weird like cross-reference to that as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I was fine with it.
And of course, the president is in fact an alien, or someone else is impersonating the president. One of the two.
I'm inclined to think alien just because the way they push this order, and it makes more sense that way to me.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It could be an impersonation.
Could be. Snapper's still a firecracker.
Very good.
Yeah. Taking over from Jimmy, then Jimmy having to put him back in his place, which is basically the entire gist of that plot. Not much to say. However, I will say, once again, there was a scene where he like grills Kara on. In this case, it's in her actual writing. Like she says, "No, this is too like your opinions all over this. This is biased. This is," and he reads it out, and I'm like, you know what? I agree. It sounds very.
Yeah, it's a good piece of writing, but it's not a good unbiased journalistic article.
Admittedly, though, I'm not sure if a magazine called Catco or whatever is supposed to be
I don't know.
you know.
He's clearly running a serious news beat.
True,
So
true. Don't get me wrong, he's still a grade A dick, but when he grills her for stuff, he's right.
he's a grade A dick, but I really like him.
That's because you're a dick who likes to correct people.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. He's basically a ginger, but he lost all his hair, so, you know, there he is.
That's the secret to relatability. You just need to make it a ginger, and I've got a good chance.
But of course, the big thing at the end was now I actually noticed her like in the middle of the episode. There was like when Alex was there, like beating people up for information. I did notice the bartender was the actress who's going to play Miss Martian.
See, I'd forgotten who they'd cast, but I was scanning trying to figure out if I could see which one was Miss Martian. I was like, I'm sure she's here. She's got to be. But
No, I knew it was her because I just recognised her from the pictures, and I actually didn't think they were going to bring it up again in this episode. I thought it was just okay. They've planted that she's there, and we're going to come back to this bar next week, maybe the week after, and we'll get to there. But going along the lines of Jean sort of realising, because the president when she's leaving even says to Jean that he has to kind of live as well. He can't just do what he's doing. And going along those lines, he kind of like, okay, Alex has maybe mentioned this bar to him, so he goes to the bar and morphs into like his genuine Martian form and goes in. And when the bartender sees him, when Miss Martian sees him, she like pure like freaks out and like makes an excuse and leaves quickly. And they go outside, and I'll admit I thought it was a bit weird that they went straight to her, just completely morphing into herself and saying who she was. I wasn't expecting that. Even after the moment where he sees her, I was expecting it to end in a bit of ambiguity.
yeah, it makes sense in the show, like, and for a character perspective, for me at least. But I get what you mean. Like, you think for the show they want to hold something back for next time.
Yeah, it felt. Do you know if I have one genuine complaint about the show? Which, by the way, I sound like I'm being kind of critical of this episode. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought Supergirl fangirling over meeting the president was the most delightful thing ever.
She gets so attached to everyone.
Yeah. Her being nervous, her try to like make herself feel better by talking to the little girl next to her when the president's about to land, asking if she should get a blowout, and Jean like being like, oh my god, and just walking away, like all of it. By the way, actually, speaking of Kara, she was writing her article at the DEO dressed as Kara, and I don't think we've ever seen her at the DEO out of like Supergirl uniform.
You're right. I don't think we have.
We haven't, because I don't think everyone who works there knows who she is.
No, they definitely don't.
It's just
Because they always
yeah.
follow Supergirl.
Yeah, Jean's sister, obviously win now, but that's about it. By the way, wasn't Lucia like part of the DAO at the end of last season?
I swear she was running it at the end of last season.
She was!
End of last season, she was running it. Alex and John were off trying to find Jeremiah.
Jean came back, he got exonerated, but then they said, like, oh, we can have two leaders. But Lucy's been nowhere to be found, and they've not mentioned her once.
I did see an interview saying that I don't think that she's coming back anytime particularly soon.
Oh, right, why is that?
Just no reason. Maybe she's scheduled somewhere else. They didn't really say. They were just like, we're done with that for now.
That's okay.
Which is fine by me, because she was probably the weakest part of last season.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. It just popped out of my head there.
Speaking of the DEO, oh my god, I love Win at the DEO.
Oh yeah, Wynn's great at the DEO. Him, like that's what I loved about that scene though. Like, she's like trying to write her article at the next computer, and he's just like, I did this and I did that, and I'm looking at these star charts, and he's
It's always like, I just catalogued these 3 dead languages from whatever planet. What's next?
Small tidbit of a note: those computer chairs they were all sitting on, that were all identical. I used to have that computer chair, so it was just an odd thing to notice.
Does that make you relate to the DEO more? You sat in their chairs.
Not really. If anything, it was distracting because I kept noticing that it was my chair. I'm like, oh, I had that chair. Like, repeatedly. You know what it was? It's not so much that I care about seeing a chair that I used to have on TV. It's just more the idea that when they were like building the new set and like the set guy's going out to buy chairs, he went and just bought like 50 of a chair I had. Like, it's just, I don't know, something about the thought process amuses me. Because I guess I expect them to spend more money in a chair because it wasn't that expensive, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's the DEO. So I know how much that cost.
But you're also thinking set designers. These got to say, you got to do everything as cheap as you possibly can.
Oh, of course, of course. But it's meant to be a high-tech, government-run facility, you know?
Yeah, but I think even the CIA and whatever skimp on their chair costs. They're like, you don't need those.
Maybe. Maybe Jean's got a good one in his office. Maybe he's got the really fancy chair.
The director's chair. Yeah.
All the bells and whistles. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Dear, where was I?
I don't know.
Miss Martian? Where we at, Miss Martian?
Yeah, Miss Martian.
Yeah, that's really good. Looks at Jean. We have nothing to go on really as to what she'll be like because she had like 1-2 lines of dialogue, nothing to really. I will say I loved that his like sad Martian theme came in when she when she seen him.
Yeah,
it was freaking out because obviously she thought she was the last Martian, and she's like, oh dear.
Yeah.
So.
That was really nice. I hope that it's we get a bit with Jean and her before anyone else. Before she kind of has scenes with everyone else.
Oh, actually, I forgot to finish my point from earlier. Actually, when I was talking about that, I was gonna say if I had one complaint about this.
Yeah, you were gonna say that.
Show. Yeah, if I was going to have one complaint about this show in general, is I do think whenever it does like a little stinger like this at the end, where there's a little cliffhanger, I feel like they always feel quite weak. Something about them always feels kind of forced in TV. Like, hey, come back next week, folks, rather than feeling natural.
Yeah, I get that.
So I don't know. It's just a small thing. I had fun overall, though. I liked everything Kara was doing. I liked her reporting. Liked Wynn. Liked Martian. Liked Maggie. Even Alex in Maggie's presence, it seems more fun, which is nice.
Yeah, I hope that kind of carries forward.
Yeah. So. No.
What do we think of Lena Luthor and her alien device?
Oh yeah, that was an amusing scene. Kara using her heat vision to
destroy it,
make it malfunction before she uses it.
Yeah.
Was fine. It does obviously raise the question, like, what are Lena's intentions and so on and so forth. But then, like, she calls Kara back, and they seem to have that nice little chat in her office. So, yeah, I'm not sure yet. I feel like because I'm almost doing what Kara does with the Daxam, but because she's a Luthor, I'm kind of just assuming that at some point.
See, that's what I'm doing. But then the fact that this episode is here and now, it's like you shouldn't be doing this. It almost feels like they're talking to us, going, "Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be thinking that about Luthor."
Yeah, I'll tell you this: either Lena or Mon-El are evil as hell.
One of them has to be.
Maybe not both, but one of them is.
Sure.
And I don't know which one's more interesting to do, because they're both kind of obviously, possibly bad guys.
Yeah. Can I just say, John's line where he goes, "Oh, great time to get rid of all my kryptonite."
Oh, that was a funny line.
Absolutely cracked me up.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. More cynical Jean, and even then, he had like a really nice moment as well when he turned around to Karen and said, "The president should be proud to meet you." Like he was being kind of sweet to her. It was nice.
Yeah,
nice. A lot of good Jean in this episode.
It was.
A lot of good Jean. I feel like all my complaints in this episode were mostly just kind of. Like, weird little plot things or weird little moments that didn't quite make sense. Like, Mon-El speaking English is weird to me. Like, that's just like a weird plot hole that I don't understand.
It could be, again, assuming that he is evil and, he was sent here.
He could be lying, yeah.
That could be something that they retroactively, acknowledge. So, that'd be okay.
I mean, it wouldn't bother me if every other, like, at least Kryptonian came here speaking English, but they've clearly established, no, they had their own language and... Kara speaks it occasionally. So.
But then saying that, all the Kryptonians last year spoke English as well.
That is true, but they apparently all landed at the same time as Kara did, so it's a long enough time that.
Yeah.
Why are they speaking English to each other? That is a very good question. That's the same thing though. Anything that's set or anything that's got like two characters who can speak a different language. But because it's like an American show or an American movie, they speak English to each other, and it's like They wouldn't be. They would speak in their own
Yeah,
language.
just subtitle it. So what it is, it's that they can't be bothered to create the entire language.
Yeah, that's what it is. And honestly, I don't really blame them even, because
No, that's effort.
it is effort. But I can buy that they've all learned English in the 13 years.
Just not Mon-El.
Well, because he just landed.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But I was just saying, unless he was, like, learnt it for a reason beforehand.
Yeah.
In which case, I'll allow it. That was a very fair complaint.
Good. I'm glad you're, approving my complaints.
I am, yeah. Well, someone's got it.
That's Supergirl, guys. Episode 3. We spoke for a long time on that one, somehow. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.